Hello, friend. Welcome to Almost Cancelled, everyone. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are, of course, going to talk about Mr. Robot Season 3, Episode 6. It is called EPS 3.5 underscore killprocess.inc. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. Also, I want everyone to know, even though they don't get to see this normally, I just want everyone to know that is the first time this season I did that in the first take, where I remembered that I say hello friend instead of just a normal intro. That is
Do
the
you know
first
what?
time I've
I
done
was
it.
thinking, as you did it, I was like, oh, I'm so proud of you. You finally got it. And I was like, I'm not gonna say anything. I made a mental note to congratulate you after we finished.
Nah, I want them to know. Took me 6 episodes, but I've done it. I've done it.
Got there in the end.
Yeah, we're going to talk about. Now, last week, of course, was very tense. All one shot, all that. This arguably got even tenser, and
Yeah, the ringing alarm music that was going throughout so much of this episode did not help with the tension.
yeah, there was a music that sounded very much like an alarm. Also, it was kind of funny how last week he did it, like, Esmail I'm talking about here. He did it with a single continuous take to make it all feel like it was all falling on from each other. This episode was the opposite, where it was probably the most heavily edited episode in the sense that it was cutting between lots of things really quickly, but that was kind of giving this impression of everything counting down, because they were getting shorter and shorter.
Yeah, it was like a speeding up. It was like you say, it was like ticking up.
So I think it's funny how he's used, in back to back, the two extremes of the spectrum, where one shot and we just follow, other one boom 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 boom, boom and literally boom. So so we're going to talk about this episode of Mr. Robot. Got our notes ready. This was a hard one to take notes for, by the way it was jumping around. I almost wished I had really big paper so I could just do columns and just have like each, like, because there was like 4 different things going on at the one time it was cutting between, and I kind of wanted a column for each one, and I could just
Yeah.
do
I
it
see what
that
you
way
mean. That might have been easier.
instead of having cutting between scenes, because typically just having a scene header and doing a note for a scene as I'm watching it is a simple and easy way of doing it. This time not so much, but hey. So we go into the start of the episode. The opening scene is a flashback to when Angela is a child, and our mother is having a sort of party because she's dying. I think specifically it's leaving work. But she's sick, and it's kind of fun because we get Elliot's dad, the real
Yes.
Elliot's dad, not Mr. Robot.
Yes, Mr. Alderson, not Mr. Robot.
Mr. Alderson. I'm sorry to call him Mr. Robot, but yeah, he actually sits down and and the episode starts with the power of love hitting. And there was this moment of recognition, because it's not the exact same version as the movie. It's a slight cover of it, and I was like, oh, but that's Power of Love. Oh, that's from Back to the Future. Oh, we're doing this again? And then it cuts to the cartoon, the Back to the Future cartoon playing on TV. And I'm like, oh, yeah, Angela liked it as well. Yep, they're both fond of it. And so here's the thing. Did you notice anything about the girl?
I see. I didn't double check, but it was in my mind that it was a maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the girl that Angela spoke to or saw when it was with when she went to see White Rose?
It was the same actress.
That's what I thought. I was like, okay, that she looks very similar, but I didn't actually check.
I actually couldn't remember what she looked like. I just kind of in my head, like, I wonder if that's the same actress. And I looked it up afterwards, and sure enough, it was her. So, lending credence to alternate realities and time travel, I mean, admittedly, could just be a thematic thing.
But the thing is, this opening segment hints at both.
Oh, it does, yeah, because we're talking about Back to the Future, and we're talking about, because she doesn't want to talk to her mother. She doesn't want to join the party. She feels awkward and sad and whatnot. And Mr. Robot's kind of like edging her on. He's like, in a friendly fatherly kind of way, because he knows her, obviously. It's Elliot's friend. And he's like, oh, do you remember the plot of the first Back to the Future? The enchantment under the sea dance. And of course, I've seen Back to the Future enough times that I'm like, yes, I remember enchantment under the sea dance. Yes, And Marty has to convince George to, date his mother, otherwise he'll never exist. He has to give him the push, which I think is very funny, given he ends up pushing Elliot out a window. Yeah, but
allegedly.
Allegedly. So that's going on, and he's basically just saying, like, hey, like, it may be hard, but you kind of have to do it. And it's almost like later on, is she literally going to be doing that thing? She's going to be making sure, like, her mum survives in a weird way. And obviously more thoughts on that later, because she drops some lines of dialogue. very bluntly, might I add, with Elliot, in just a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so and he also, as she's walking over to her mum, he's kind of talked her into it. He's like, oh, and by the way, and I took this as he knows he's dying. Like, it's not public yet. Like, no one else knows.
Yeah.
But he knows that he's dying for the same reason she is.
And maybe Elliot knows as well, because we know that he knew first.
Oh yeah, he might know first. Maybe that's why he's not here.
Exactly, it's too much.
He specifically,
he doesn't want to deal with it.
Yeah, but he knows certainly, because he says to Angela, hey, if I'm never not here, and he knows he's not going to be here, is that, if Elliot ever needs a push, make sure you do that. And you almost kind of think in present day, even though she's kind of lying to him, she's giving him the push because it's deep down what he wants to, or at least she thinks it is.
She believes that he does want to go through with this plan. He just needs the push. Yeah,
because she sees both sides as him, and arguably they are both him, but like I think us as the viewer, we're so used to Elliot being Elliot and then Mr. Robot being this antagonist entity, even though technically it is still him as well.
Yes.
Unless they, swerve us later on.
Yeah, as far as we know.
Yeah, possession of an alternate reality person or some nonsense, which I'm fine with. So our mother's sitting down with the lawyer we know from the past couple of seasons. And they're talking about. It's funny actually, because I was thinking when Christian Slater came into the scene, I was like, I like how they get away with him being the same age, because he's fake in present day. He's still the same age that he was in these scenes, because it's just Elliot's memory of him. But of course, the actress playing the lawyer, you can't use that excuse with, and I'm like, okay, I have to fudge it, whatever.
It's one of those, isn't it?
Yeah, but I just like how they've got a really nice excuse with him for it though. So yeah, she mentions there's an anonymous benefactor who has been offering to pay for Angela's mother's treatment. And obviously this perked my ears. I'm like, mysterious benefactor? Who could this be? And obviously my first thought is White Rose, right? That's where my thought jumps to. But I don't know, or maybe it's more specifically Zhang, but
I mean, just to go really out there with the time travel stuff.
Oh God.
What if this is Angela from the future going, like, I can save her. Look, take the money.
I hope you're right.
I don't think I am. I also immediately thought, is it Zhang?
Because we know he's around. We know he was already starting his plan and whatnot.
Yeah, of course. So obviously that's the more obvious solution. But just every time there's something, I'm going, is there a weirder explanation?
I kind of like the idea of it's not like, if they do somehow affect the past, we're not actually going to see it in these flashbacks because it's not happened yet.
Closed loop. It's always happened.
No, the opposite. I'm saying.
Oh, okay? This one would be it's a closed loop for me. Like if it was if.
Well, if it is, yeah, no. But what I'm saying is I think almost if something would happen, it's not a closed loop, because we'll see we'll see this scene again per se, or maybe an alternate version,
and see something different.
Yeah, because it's changed. Yeah. So yeah, I guess I'm kind of thinking, especially since the show's talking about alternate timeline or alternate realities, I'm kind of thinking more straight lines with paths back the way and new lines created and shenanigans.
That's the easier way to deal with it.
Well, it's the Back to the Future way, and that's what we're referencing constantly in the show. So
I think it's the more digestible way as well. If you're gonna go into time travel out of arguably nowhere for some people.
Not that I have a problem with the closed loop. Many a movie and show have used the closed loop, and I enjoy the closed loop. But I guess I'm just saying I don't feel like there's enough in these scenes to. I mean, that would be a cool one if that turns out to be the case, that someone from present day, whether it's Angela or not, is the benefactor. Then cool, but I feel like White Rose.
I think it's unlikely as well. Don't get me wrong. I'm just put it out there.
Yeah. So basically, just have a heart-to-heart. Angela's very upset. She's like, "Oh, this is all stupid," and like she's trying to get her to talk. And what I thought was interesting about this, for me, is how it really mirrored. And we've talked a lot this season about Angela essentially having the same backstory as Elliot. And for me, this mirrored a lot of whenever we've seen Elliot with his father in the flashbacks, the way he talks to him, the relationship, and it was making me wonder later on if not in a split personality kind of way, but if Angela in some ways is also channeling her mother in the way she acts and does things.
Okay.
Because I don't know, and obviously it was just to go back to the idea that there's hope for something else and why Angela might buy into all this stuff. She says she believes it's not the end. I need you to believe it as well. Believes that we'll see each other again, and
she specifically says there's another world out there for both of us.
Yeah, and obviously you can take that as she just means the afterlife. That's all she's getting to. And then she ends the scene with, "Will you believe with me?" And I think that for me kind of ties into why she is like willing to believe White Rose to an extent. Is this is just deeply rooted in her
it's
past.
this wish fulfillment of her mother's. You know, going back to channeling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so
also just small other reference to alternate worlds and stuff.
Go on.
The cake that they had made for it says "See you in another life."
Which I'm not gonna lie, any Lost fans out there, all I could think was "See you in another life, brother," in my accent, might I add. So.
Okay.
There's a Scottish character in Lost who says that a lot.
Okay, fair enough.
Just for the record, but that's all I could think of when I saw that cake. I could just see Desmond's face. I do miss Lost. But yeah, so we cut to present day. We cut to it, and you know what I thought was funny? It cut to present day, and it was like the moment we'd left it on, and I almost thought, is Sam Esmail crazy enough to just continue this shot for another episode from this point on?
I can because obviously I went into last episode knowing it was all one shot because there was all the there was interviews the day or so before.
There was buzz. There was hyping it up from the creators and stuff. Yeah,
and I almost thought the idea is like, has he done it again? Just not told anyone this time. Just kind of let it sit there.
Rest of the show is all one take.
Yeah.
All one take. We filmed in all 3.5 seasons of just the actors doing this one thing. So we cut back to present day, and you know, I actually the first thing I wrote down when it cut to Angela was just Angela believes. Just to follow on from that the way the last scene ended. Really dark music came in here. These dark chords that kind of started coming in.
Yeah, and echoing the alarm as well.
Yeah, it got more alarmy later on. I know that alarmy's not a word, but
I'll allow it.
As someone who watched the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, that's a very Whedonism-y way of putting something, and it's kind of ingrained into my head. So, apologies. Nailed it.
Even on Mr. Robot, Mr. Robot is nothing safe.
For my Buffy references, no, nothing is safe. Nothing is safe. So I think key points to here, like Elliot's confronting her and is like, "Oh, so you've been manipulating me," and that was what the first thing I noted down after that was her reaction to him saying that. She was like almost horrified at herself. So she was, because we've spoken a lot about how she feels guilty about what she's lying to him.
She looks hurt.
Yeah, she looks hurt when he says that, but she knows it's true. So
she doesn't argue.
In fact, from a later scene, when Darlene brings it up later, she refers to it as taking advantage of his condition, which makes it even sound worse. It's like, oh, you took advantage of a mentally ill person. You convinced them to do something, and it's like, oh man, like and it's funny. We can't even judge her that much because Elliot's done much darker shit. Darlene's done really dark shit.
I think the thing is, I judged her more after hearing that line from Darlene because I forget, like you say, we do view it as two separate personalities. We don't view it as like a mental illness because we think it's, there's literally things going on.
But literally, of course, there is a mental illness. For the other characters in the show, it's a mental illness.
And Angela makes a point here, of he says, oh, him, and she goes, no, you. Like, no, they're both you. She knows that. She's consciously aware that they're the same person.
Yeah, so, he's like, oh, you met White Rose. I love the she's an effing terrorist. Like, that was a great line, just kind of like pointing that out. It's almost like Elliot's kind of, woke up. From the end of last season, it's just him actually blurting that out, actually using that word. It just felt like different. It's like they've been dancing around that word all season, and then he just hit out with it. It felt like a big line. But Angela responds to that, because he's like, oh, she's a terrorist. People are going to die. They're going to be fine, including your father and my mother. Now, obviously, she's said things before, like, oh, what if everything could be okay? Or maybe even undone, I think maybe was a word she used. But this is the first time I think she specifically said, your father and my mother will be fine.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying...
Very specific choice of words there, isn't it?
I'm not sure if, like, I don't necessarily think we're going to literally have effect in the past, but does Angela believe they can affect the past? That's something I think
she might. Yeah, like I said, we talk about how we don't know if it'll actually go down that route, but she definitely seems to be believing again to go back to that.
Joe, I love about the show actually, and its tackling of this wackier stuff. It's been hitting at these science fiction-esque ideas. I like when something that's kind of science fiction takes this route where it's more of kind of intellectual science fiction where you're talking about the ideas without... I mean, and maybe the show will have a moment towards the end or something like that where it finally does something with it, but for the majority of it, it's no, what if?
And well, that's... I mean, if it was in my mind right now, it would end with Elliot defeating them, and they never turn the machine on. They never do whatever it is they're going to do. Whether it is, time travel on Earth.
Yeah.
So we'll never know.
Oh yeah, we might never know. Maybe completely ambiguous, but I like just the idea. It's about the characters believing it more than it is us seeing actual shenanigans, and I like that tactic. But Sam Esmail's the kind of guy that I can see completely just going nuts towards the end if he wants to. I can completely see him turning this machine on at the end of this season, the end of next season, and then having a full season where things have changed.
This is it. I remember like last season, a lot of people were complaining, going, "Oh no, if this brings in these elements now, it's too out there. It hasn't earned that. It hasn't set that up."
But here's the beautiful thing: even if we have a season where everything's changed, as if they've altered the timeline, part of me wonders, like, yeah, but then do we question, is that just Elliot seeing this like he saw the prison in season 2?
Yeah.
Like he sees Mr. Robot. Like I feel like even then there's still ambiguity to it.
No, there is. But my point was here, this season feels like it's setting up the ideas enough that it could do this later now. Like, it's embedding these ideas enough.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Bringing them up more and more.
I am not opposed to going down this path whatsoever. Like the thought of it doing this just excites me. I'm not like, but at the same time, I'm actually completely okay if they never go down it. If it stays ambiguous, if it stays, I'm completely cool with that.
And that's arguably the easier route because you don't have to piss anyone off.
But what's the fun in that?
No.
Just saying. Anyway, so he actually backs her up against the wall, not too forcefully, but he's got her arms. He's like, Angela, where's White Rose? Like, what's the plan? What's happening?
He's like trying to snap her out of it almost.
And what I really noted here is she, like, for a moment while she's up against the wall and she's looking right into his eyes, she looks scared. Her composure kind of breaks. She looks like she's actually kind of realizing what she's done and what she's doing, and then she has to actually step away and not look at him to then tell him to get out of the building. She gets very cold and like says, "Oh, I don't believe you're meant to be here, Mr. Alderson." And I think it's like she had to look away to actually get those words out. I think if she kept looking at him, she would eventually, come under his line of thinking, or at least give in and realize what she's doing. She had to not face it in the eye.
She knew she was going to crack. And to her, you got to remember, to her, this is like it's a sacrifice. We do this, but it's for a good reason. Things will be better after.
Yeah. So, and then of course he remembers the conversation with Tyrell from the end of last season about the red wheelbarrow. It clicks for him that's where he is, and it's actually funny because as soon as he thought of that, I'm like, oh yeah, he's probably just under the red wheelbarrow. I don't know why I never really thought of that before, but it makes sense given how much we've been spending time there and whatnot, and why Irving seems to always be around there. So
he loves the ribs, man.
He does love the ribs. So Darlene is with the FBI. She's with Dom and her partner. And they're pissed at her for, again, going off and talking to Elliot without a wire and without telling them what's going on. I feel like they're letting her get away with a lot, just in this half season alone.
Desperation.
And, so Elliot calls her, and it's funny, because we knew that Elliot knew about the FBI now. And what I thought was interesting, kind of what I was expecting at this point as well, is like, is he actually just going to ask to talk to them? He's going to be like, hey, Darlene, put me on the line with whoever's there. I want to talk to them. Yeah. And he didn't do that, but he did kind of go down that path where he said, Elliot, or Darlene, get the FBI over to the red wheelbarrow. That's where he is. Like, he's actually asking for them to intercept.
Exactly. He doesn't go, let me tell you, I ain't got time for that bollocks, has he? He's just like, look, we both know that this is the case. Just get them down there. Do their job.
Yeah. Get to the red wheelbarrow. And if Darlene she feels she has to apologise before they hang up. She's like, I'm sorry, Elliot, for everything I've done. So yeah, this is actually, honestly, from this point to the end of the episode, we are cutting around a lot. We're going to be jumping between scenes, and I've mostly got the cuts in here. There's a few where I just kind of glossed over some of the minor cuts because I was like, okay, they'll just bundle together and their sides of it. So stay with us. Elliot's heading to the building himself, the recovery building, the E-Corp building. He is going there himself to try and stop this, and I'm like, oh my god, he's getting into another building. This time one that's going to explode. Yeah, okay, we're going to be tense as hell this episode. Okay, you've made your point, Esmail. You made your point.
Yeah. This show's making me scared of buildings.
It is. It really is. Made me scared of a lot of things, to be honest. I'm scared of computers. I'm scared of buildings. I'm scared of creepy mustache masks.
Yeah. Scared of explosions, but I mean, I guess I was of that anyway.
Yeah. That's a normal fear. That's fine. So, FBI Santiago tries to delay the Tyrell search, and we know who he's working for now, so it makes a lot of sense. It's very suspicious though. It's like he's clearly looking for reasons not to do it. Dom's pissed. She doesn't understand why. This is actually where I noted down that the music started to sound like an alarm. Like really, like it was like it was like a sort of klaxon sounding alarm almost.
Yeah, I put it in here as well. Like again, because the alarm stuff, it went away after during I think it was when Angela turns around and goes cold. It stops for that moment.
Yeah, it has a different thing. It's more of a sort of drum beat thing while Elliot's talking to Darlene on the phone.
Yeah, and then it comes back in here, but again, like I said, it's even more like an alarm.
And I think that's because, again, it feels like it's counting down. It's like introducing Santiago because he knows that something's going down today. More than that,
it's danger close.
Yeah. Then we actually cut to Zhang and Price, who are at a gala of some kind. I'm glad that Zhang brought up to Price, why are you here? Your E-Corp building's under siege. And he's like, yeah, that's going on, but I felt it was too important. This event was too important to miss.
Just on the TV, we actually see that the US abstained from the UN vote.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
which I thought was interesting. The idea that the US doing nothing is what allowed that to happen.
All it takes for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing.
Exactly.
Can't remember who said it, but it's a really good quote.
It is. I thought it was an interesting little point, just buried on one of the TVs in the background around this point.
Yeah, no, that's a good touch. So they're there. It's a very pink room.
It is.
I don't have anything to add, but it's very pink. So basically what they do here is they share a drink and they kind of like, okay, you're getting what you want by the end of the day. Of course, Zhang knows he's effed him. Like, he knows he's screwed him royally. He knows what he's about to do. But they're standing there and they make with the niceties and they kind of have this bond. They make fun of the owner of this place. Like, he wants us to go boating with him. He wears those stupid trunks. And
they're too tight and too short.
Yeah, they're cracking their jokes. And then it gets really awkward and silent again. And Philip just kind of like, well, good. And he just walks away. And it really felt like, yeah, they go through all these motions, and there's kind of like, because they're both like these powerful men, they kind of have this in common where they can joke with each other, but they're so opposed right now, and it's just so cold that that's all it is.
It's the most awkward scene in the episode, potentially.
Yeah, it is legitimately just going through these motions to be nice, and then that's it.
Yeah. Formalities,
I guess, is the word you'd use. Zhang receives a phone call about Tyrell being found out. Which, by the way, we should mention that Santiago messaged Irving. He's like, hey, safe house is burned. Get Tyrell out of there.
And then, presumably, Irving contacts Zhang's like, hey, compromised.
Which, by the way, I feel like Santiago, being in the FBI, should know better than to actually use the guy's name in the text. Like, just say, safe house, or, location burnt, move the asset.
You're right, but he mentions Wellick, doesn't he?
He mentions the name, and I'm like, that's stupid. If anyone ever searches those phone records... I mean, I get that it's probably not your personal phone. I assume you have a second phone, because it takes out the desk. But still, like...
There's a tangible record there. There's a paper trail, for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, the word is there. You are screwed if anyone ever looks into that phone record.
Yeah. And we all know what Elliot's capable of.
Oh, yeah. The digital trace, Elliot's got you by the balls, right? He's got you.
Exactly.
It's over. You're done. So we go back to Elliot. He's at the recovery centre, and everyone was outside. They're going back and say, because he called them the bomb scare last episode, and the firefighters are there. They've cleaned the place out. They've searched it. There's no explosives because, again, it's not a bomb per se. It's the servers are going to overheat and they're going to cause a reaction, and he is like, why are people coming out? One little moment here I noticed that I thought was a really interesting little just touch is the firefighter who's talking to him gets distracted at one point because there's some secretaries or whoever going back inside, and they're attractive, and he kind of like, his eye wanders as he's talking to Elliot.
Yeah, his head just turns and follows.
I kind of took it as a little statement on this episode, and in a sense, phase 2 as a whole. The whole thing is that we're being distracted by one thing while everything else is going on. More than that at the end of the episode.
It's all a misdirect.
Yeah, it's all a misdirect. Yeah, that was like, I thought, that's a very, very nice touch there.
Yeah,
I thought. So Elliot's right. I have to get in there. I have to solve this myself. And what I like about this episode is it's a very heroic little mission for Elliot. Like, he's trying to save lives. Like, that is, it's superhero 101. He's trying to save a building full of people. That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
So as much as he's done a lot of shady things in the past, I mean, all his intentions have always made sense to us for the most part. This is, in a pure sense, the most heroic thing he's ever really done.
It's funny because we've spoken a lot about this, about how his hoodie is his superhero outfit.
Yeah.
The way he suits up into it, he becomes that persona. And this is just, straight up superheroics the way he plays it.
Yeah. And he goes in, he steals a badge from a security guard, he gets in the building, he goes to a random conference room, he sits down with his laptop, he starts typing away, he's about to hack some shit. Weird note here, this probably means nothing, I noticed it and I want to mention it. There was like one of those, like, someone's caught a fish and they put it on the wall type deals. Right?
Yeah, the shark.
Whether it's real or not is I'm not sure, but it was painted the same colour as the wall, and I thought that was really weird.
Yeah, it was this weird blue, wasn't it?
Green. It was like a.
Was it the green?
Yeah, it was this kind of. I mean, it's people. So this is the sort of colour people argue on whether it's blue or green because it's kind of that aqua kind of shade.
Yeah, okay. I wrote it down as blue, but whatever.
Yeah, I'll fight you on it, but. No, but it was like someone was painting the wall, and instead of taking it off the wall, they just painted that as well.
Over it. Yeah, you're right.
And I thought that was kind of amusing. I don't know if there's anything.
You say that, but it really lingered on that shark a few times.
Yeah. I don't know if I have anything to add to it, but
yeah. I don't know why. I just noticed it did a few, like to the point where it got to the second or third time, and I wrote it down.
So he's working away, and then we see a glitch. I mean, I see
you hear the crackle first.
Yeah. You hear the crackle, again, very Twin Peaks style crackle noise, but you see a glitch, and when I say glitch, on the screen you legitimately see like distortion, and you see Elliot, and he's wearing Mr. Robot's outfit, and he sort of freaks out, and he realises that Mr. Robot's coming, he's coming to stop him, and then it glitches again, and then we're in a cab, and he's like, what the hell, where am I? And he's asking the cab driver, he's like, oh, what time is it? How much time did I miss? And he's like, 15 minutes. It's just enough time for Mr. Robot to get him out of the building, basically. Yeah. But Elliot's back in control, and he's like, shit, I have to get back to the building. And we don't actually know how long it's going to take till it explodes, because Elliot's like, yeah,
he doesn't either, that's the point. It's like, it could be 20 minutes, it could be, 3 hours.
Yeah, it could be a minute. I could go in there, I could walk in the front door and it could go boom. That's how quick this could be. So I kind of like that there was no timer, because it kind of avoids that cliche, even though Elliot...
There's the timer in the episode, by the way, the way edited. It paces and the way it's edited, and the way these Mr. Robot events happen, they get tighter and tighter.
Yeah, so we get the effect of it without the cliche, although Elliot still cracks a little meta joke where he's like, why do we always cut these things so close?
Yeah.
Nice little joke. So he goes back. So Dom is back at the FBI. Darlene phones her. She's worried sick about Elliot because she knows that he's probably going to try and stop this, and she's terrified that she's going to lose her brother. That was basically it. That Dom knows she's hiding something, but and we know it's about the building blowing up. She never mentioned that. So also I noticed that when Darlene was on this phone call, when we got like a sort of high shot looking down at her, and again I think this is a meta little touch. She was sitting next to a jigsaw puzzle that was almost finished. There was just a few pieces at the top missing.
Yeah, it's decided it's so close. Just needs to take a step back to see the bigger picture.
Yeah, so close. And Dom is sly. She's been told not to go to the Red Wheelbarrow. They're going to put, Santiago's going to put surveillance on it. Air quotes intended. And she's like, "Hey, you hungry? Go for some lunch."
I love how the partner's so clueless for a while. It's like, "You hungry?" It's like, "Yeah, I could eat." It's like, no. Do you want to go and get some lunch?
That's what he gets. He's like, well, to be fair, I think if someone just says, "Are you hungry?" I'd probably just take it literally first. I'd be like, can I some food, yeah. Like, oh, you want to do a thing? Oh, yeah, I could go for some lunch. What I noted here is some music comes in. It starts off kind of, just sort of building in the background, but then when they get up to go, it really kicks in, and it's like this rock version of like a western theme where they're going off to like catch the bad guy. I thought it was just a really nice, cool little...
I like it a lot.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice. We see Tyrell. He's in his hideout. He's waiting. He still thinks he's going to go with Joanna on a flight. And this is where it starts to cut around really quickly. So I'm going to be firing through some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So going back to Elliot, he's going back up to the conference room. The laptop's not there. The bag's there, but the laptop's gone. Mr. Robot trashed it, hid it, wherever. Who knows? But it's not there. He's putting blocks in his path so he can't achieve anything. And we're cutting around. Dom's at the red wheelbarrow. She's going in. She's ordering food. That's intercutting between Tyrell down in the basement. He's talking to Irving. Irving's explaining. Tyrell's pissed at him. He pulls out this letter. He's like, "Here, this is your instructions. Read them and then burn it." And it's all very secret agenty, of course. So this is all cutting around. Elliot's trying to get to the computer lab. He goes to a computer lab. He sits down at the computer. He's typing away.
I love that there's a guy already in there.
Yes, because Elliot is rushes in, and the guy is like, "Oh, that's a bit suspicious," but whatever. And he's sitting down. He's typing away. He's about to start something again. Glitch. And he's like, "Oh, he's coming again. Glitch." And then he wakes up in the elevator. And he's like, "Oh, I'm not as far this time. How much was that? 5 minutes. Great." I go back. I'm getting closer.
I'm fighting him. I'm cutting down.
Yeah, but again, the whole idea that we're getting shorter and shorter.
And he talks about the idea as is he losing control or is Mr. Robot gaining control? And if Mr. Robot can come in and do this, can he fight for control as well? Can he overpower him?
Well, I think that's the implication that it's getting shorter, is that they're fighting each other. They keep fighting each other back to consciousness, essentially. And that's going. So Tyrell's pissed. Dom's still in line for food. I mean, do you know what it is? I feel there's not a lot to say about Dom for most of this red wheelbarrow stuff until she goes downstairs, but it's all very well done. Like, it's really well directed. Like, as she's walking in, the camera's just kind of like following her slowly around.
And you're just watching her count the people.
Yeah, she's been very observant. She's asking the girl at the checkout. She's like, "Hey, how long has this place been open?" It's like she's trying to timeline it. Has this just been built recently? Well,
I like that. It's only been open 6 weeks, so this was a fresh hideout.
Yeah, because it was probably just open before Tyrell came here, because remember, he was in the woods for months and months. So.
Exactly, and we know there was some weeks after that. So it's like, okay, so this is pretty new, and I like the idea that the Dark Army, instead of co-opting somewhere, somewhere that already existed, they just went, let's just open up somewhere new. Let's go for barbecue.
Yeah, Irving tells Tyrell he's sorry. Which leads me to think that the letter, as well as instructions, actually tells him about Joanna.
I think so, yes.
Yeah, that would be my idea right now. Which is why I think he goes along with their plans. Whatever they tell him to do in this letter, which we see some of, obviously, by the end of the episode, but not all of it. We don't know what the complete endgame is, but I think he maybe goes along with it because they tell him in the letter that Joanna's dead and what's happened that they've kept from him.
Yeah, could be.
Also,
it might just be, hey, if you don't do this, the plan's going to fail. And we know that he does kind of believe in the plan to some extent.
Yeah, it could be. So Elliot rushes back into the lab. The guy's extra suspicious this time because he runs back in again.
He's out of breath. He's panting. He's sprinted there.
And he's just sort of because both times he comes in, he gives him a little sort of just a little nod, like, hey, just to say hey. And this time he does it again, and it was really funny the second time.
I like the idea that when he was Mr. Robot, he must have rushed out as well. Because, Mr. Robot wasn't considerate. He was like, I'm just getting out of here.
Yeah. We actually cut back to Dom and a few other things, but we come back to Elliot in here. He glitches again, and when he wakes... Well, actually, before he glitches, he actually has this idea. He glitches, 3 minutes pass, he's still sitting at the computer, so he has this idea. Maybe it's time to try and talk to Mr. Robot and explain that they don't have to do this, explain that we need to stop this. So he types a message on the computer. He's like, here, just, text document up, here. Blah, 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 blah. We don't need to do this. And then he glitches it again, and when he wakes up, the room is just wrecked. All the computers have been smashed. And this other guy who was in there, just back up against the wall, like, please don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And Elliot's just standing there like, he didn't like my message.
And do you know what? It was at this point it occurred to me just how much Mr. Robot believes in this cause. He's, he's putting his life on the line. Up till this point, we've seen him be very careful when it comes to preserving Elliot. He's always got Elliot out of danger whenever he could. But here, he's making him, he's keeping around this building if he has to.
Yeah, later on he does say, get out here before you get us both killed. So he does care a bit about being alive, but obviously not enough to just get him out completely to begin with.
Exactly.
So that's going on. So he's like, okay, I have to go down to the battery room. I have to go down to the source and stop it down there. So he makes his way. So as this is going on, again, we're cutting around constantly here. There's been more cuts than I've mentioned as well. Like it was dancing around something fierce. So the Dom and Tyrell stuff's all kind of going together. Tyrell's reading the letter. Dom's like, oh, I'll go to the bathroom, and then she falls into the other door to the back, and it's the kitchen, and then there's this door at the back of the kitchen, there's smoke coming from it, which is Tyrell burning the letter.
I like how no one in the kitchen really notices her at first.
She just walks in. She's very stealthy, and by the time the guy does notice her, there's so much smoke that he's just kind of not concerned with random person.
Yeah, it's like, for all he knows, because I think at this point it's pretty clear that there's a fire. You can see it from like how far out the smoke's coming over the counter, so this could be just someone coming in to help. Yeah,
it could be. And yeah, so she's going down. You're seeing Tyrell's doing so. He's got handcuffs out. He's putting them in the bed, but then you see.
It's about then where you kind of get what his plan is.
Well, yeah. It's once he doesn't put the other handcuff on his hand, like because I think at first you're maybe thinking, oh, is this some sort of weird like making it look like he's been and to an extent he still looks like he's been trapped because the handcuff was there.
That's the point there. Is that make it look like he was a prisoner and being against his will, so that when he does get captured.
Yeah.
It can go, oh no, it's fine.
But he leaves that and he runs off. He actually escapes through the back channels.
Yes, there's a secret panel.
Yeah. We've actually seen that place before, we just didn't know it was behind a fake wall.
Yeah.
So, but Dom comes down, it's very suspenseful, it's very dark, she's just got her flashlight, it's all, it's her sort of hunting through the smoky, dark room. And she finds a secret. And, for a couple of minutes, I'm like, man, is she going to get offed here? This almost feels like it could end in a death.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
It was very, very intimidating, which means it was very well directed because it gave us those feelings. As this is going on, we actually bring in other stuff into the fray. So, Angela is on a train going home. And I thought this scene was also very well directed. It was kind of one shot for the most part, just going back and forth. It was Angela's on one side. It pans across to these two old ladies who are talking about. One of them was moving in with her daughter because it's getting hard to afford living on her own. And she's like, oh, I hope I'm not a burden, and so on. And it's going back and forth. And you kind of notice, just even the first time you notice, there's a guy just further up the car who's got an F Society mask on. And he's kind of looking towards where the camera is. And at first it's kind of creepy, but whatever. Then it goes back to Angela. And the second time, you sort of see he's shaking a little bit. He's just he's gearing up. Yeah. And then it's panning back, but as it's panning back, it's actually going towards him. And as it gets close to him, you can actually hear him making a noise. He's sort of he's gearing up. He's getting ready to do something. And then he mugs the old ladies. He pulls out a gun, and then he goes up to Angela and he's pointing the gun dead in Angela's face, like give me the money, bitch. Whatever he says. And Angela's just like, no. Yeah. I don't think if she says anything, she just stares at him blankly. It's just cold.
And I love how this mirrors Darlene from a couple of episodes ago, where she got her purse taken and she just let it happen. She just wanted the picture. She was like, fine, take it. I don't care. But Angela's like, no, I'm keeping it. It's mine.
Because Darlene's like past her big mission and she kind of regrets it and it doesn't think it was worth it. So she's at that point where she just feels that way. Whereas Angela still believes in her cause.
She's still in the righteousness.
Yeah, so she's hanging on to it. That's exactly what it is. So that's going on. So all this is cutting around. Elliot is going down the stairs. As he's usually done, he's explaining his plan to us. He's like, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Maybe this will work.
Just on the quick thing on the answer thing, I'm just trying to scan my notes. Sorry, my writing's awful. When the guy runs off, the women say to her, he could have killed you, and she goes, no one's going to die. And again, it's this idea that she really believes in this cause, but not to the point of killing him. She genuinely believes that no one is going to die.
Oh yeah, I mean, she does. She's mentioned that no one's going to die. Yeah. She's mentioned before. She's asked multiple times about getting evacuated. She mentions that again later. It's funny that I skipped over that actually, and you brought it back up because I actually had a couple of notes next to that sentence. One was just the obvious one. Thinks it's already been evacuated, so on and so forth. The other one that I think is perhaps notable because she was kind of putting herself at risk in this scene is that does she think it doesn't matter because whatever's going to happen is going to fix everything?
Yeah. Does she think anything from here is predetermined on, so she's safe? Like it's like no, I can't die here.
Predetermined, but if she's rewriting the past and getting her mother back, does that not just
change?
She
can't believe in that. No, you're right.
Yeah. Does that not change everything that she would do later in life as well? Anyway. So all this doesn't matter. If she gets killed right now, what does it matter?
No, that's a point. Like she thinks that okay, if I die, White Rose will keep her agreement anyway, and
I've achieved my part of the plan, so we're good. Yeah. But no, so we're back to Elliot. He's going down the stairs, and he glitches halfway down the stairs, and it looks painful. Like, credit.
Yeah, my only note for this is ouch.
Credit to Malek or the stuntman, whoever was doing this. It looked painful as shit. It was not pleasant. It's big stone stairs. It's not pleasant at all. Not that even carpeted stairs aren't going to be pleasant to fall down, but
it looks like he falls really awkwardly. It's so sudden because he's running down the stairs as well, and then it's just this trip, and it's
Yeah, it's the idea that Mr. Robot just takes control for a second, makes him fall.
Yeah,
and then Elliot's there when he wakes up at the bottom, and it's just kind of like, oh, he's trying to stop me. Meanwhile,
Robot's getting desperate.
Yeah, back with Dom. Santiago's now there. They've got the rest of the FBI combing the scene, and again, Santiago, like, he's being really obviously suspicious. He's like, oh, you went against directors, but this is still a win. Yeah, I won't be too hard on you.
Yeah, this evidence can only bring us closer to Tyrell. No shit.
It was just really shady. It was obvious that he didn't want anyone to keep asking questions, and he's determined to get her to go back to the FBI immediately. He doesn't want her around. He's like, no, leave now. He
doesn't want her to find anything else.
Yeah, so he makes a point of getting her to go. And Angela's apartment, Darlene arrives there, and Angela goes to answer the door, and she's like, hey, let me in. And Angela's looking through the peephole, and this might be the line of the episode. Yep. I can see your big ass eye. Which
I love that they're addressing her eyes so much.
Which what I think's funny is I think both Angela and Darlene have really big eyes.
They do.
They both have that same feature. So I think there's something really funny about her saying it to Angela. But it made me laugh. I can't deny it made me laugh. Both Carly and Portia have giant eyes.
They do. And they're aware of it. This show, they're making fun of that like multiple times.
They're cracking lines about it. But it cracked me up. So. Yeah, so this is where I switched to kind of a 2-column approach here to my note. I'm going to stick with the non-Elliot stuff, and then just so I can stay with Elliot once we get back to him. So Dom's back at outside the FBI. She's getting a coffee or whatever from the stand, and Tyrell runs out into the street, and people are like noticing him, and he's taken down, and he's like surrendering, and he's just screaming, "Stop the attack! You have to stop the attack!" And of course, again, it's cutting between everything here, but it keeps coming back to this. And the last time we see them is, Dom comes up and she's like, "What attack?" And it's worth mentioning here that I actually noted that at one point, and this isn't that weird for this show because this show is so obsessed with headroom, but at one point, like the building behind her was so kind of focused behind her that I thought maybe something's going to happen there.
I did as well, and it was the same thing that happened earlier. It was when Santiago.
Snow globe.
I think, the snow globe. It was like this, this I love NY snow globe.
And I thought, man, what are they going to blow up? Like,
I was like that as well. I was like, this is bigger than one building, whatever this is. The way they're treating this.
Yeah, because he was like, hey, Mom, don't go out today. Stay home. And I'm like, something big is going down. We skipped over that scene because again, my notes are so scattershot in this episode.
Same. But it was. I was like, okay, this is bigger than what we're seeing. Clearly, I just don't know what.
Yeah. So you got that. You got Angela and Darlene. Darlene's knows that Angela will regret this. She's been, and again we talked about that. She's went through this and she'd done her mission that she believed was righteous, and she came out on the other side, and all she has is regret for everything she's lost and everything she's done, and she's kind of messed up. And Angela's so certain.
Yeah.
But of course, their phones go off, and we see other people see it as well. Their phones in the news. And what I thought was really interesting here is that the last time we see Angela and Darlene here, it glitches on them.
Yeah, I thought that was a really odd touch.
Now, I don't think it's actually suggesting anything about them. I mean, thematically, maybe you could argue it as maybe it's the moment where Angela, because Angela's about to see.
That's what I think it is. It's that the unclearing, the realization.
Yeah, because we'll talk about it in a minute, obviously, when we get to the end of the episode. But she's about to see what's actually happened with this plan. So this is kind of her waking up, almost.
Here's the just to go back to Tyrell as well.
Yeah.
Because obviously he's shouting, "Oh, stop the attack! Stop the attack!" I think there's two potential ways you can read it. There's one, the way that he's completely going along with the plan. This is the plan. Make himself look innocent and going, "Hey, stop the attacks! It's too late to stop it anyway." So he can say whatever he wants.
Yeah.
The second option is, because we see him hesitate after, when he puts the handcuffs on the bed, and then he looks into the fire, and he kind of hesitates for a moment. Is this genuine? You know, he's learnt that
it's not
Joanna's
genuine.
dead.
No, it's not genuine.
Okay.
No, I'll explain why when we talked about what actually happened.
I don't think it is either, but there was a possibility.
I'll talk about why when it actually happened. But yeah, so it ends with them looking at their phones. Something big just went down. Everyone else has just seen this news. Obviously, Elliot hasn't. Elliot's too busy trying to save this building, but everyone else is seeing something's went down.
Yeah, we see Dom see it out at the truck, food truck.
So yeah, but no, really interesting that glitches on them. I mean, I think if it's not specific to Angela's character, I think it's maybe just specific that the world itself is resetting here. The entire world is glitching at this moment. Which is why we're getting on them. But I think more specifically, you could argue that no, it's because Angela's about to see what actually happened, and because of that, she's now going to be a changed person.
Yeah, is this like to go into the world is glitching? Is this one of those points where this is an alternate timeline point now?
Well, we're not in an alternate timeline, but yes, this is a divergent point.
Yeah.
So back to Elliot. So Elliot, he's gone down this long hallway, and.
my notes for this hallway. Yeah, I said when he fell down the stairs, my note was ouch. My note for this hallway is just ouch times 1,000.
This was maybe it's my sense of humor, but I was laughing a lot during this scene. This was he's going down this long sort of industrial looking hallway, so lots of pipes and stuff, there's steam and whatnot, and basically he's trying to go down this hallway to get to the room that he's going to, and Mr. Robot keeps taking control for a second or two. And
just enough to smack his head into the wall,
making him hurt himself. And you say the wall, in actual fact, he smacks his head off a giant pipe.
It does both. He does both sides.
Well, sure, he does both sides. But that was the one that really stuck out to me.
Oh no, the one that really sticks out is where he stops, turns, and headbutts the pipe.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh no. There's two, because there's one where he throws himself sideways into the pipe and into his head, like so it kind of cracks that way.
I know, but that's what I was talking about. I was talking about the headbutt.
I see. I thought you were about that one, because I thought that one was way worse in terms of just what looked bad.
Are you actually bickering with me over which head hitting the pipe moment I'm talking about?
I think it's a credit that there's multiple that we can be talking about.
I don't think it matters.
Okay, fine.
I don't think it matters. The point is he's hurting him go down the hallway, and it was really funny.
Yeah, and then there's that guy who just like, hey, you all right?
Yeah, he just keeps moving. No point in sticking around with him.
And, you mentioned it was really funny. I think that's a really big credit to Esmail, that it is hilarious while this is happening. But we're getting to the end of the episode. We know the countdown's ramping up because we're seeing it.
Yeah,
this is just funny to watch.
It doesn't detract from any of the emotion or the tension it's building. It doesn't detract from any of that.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's hard skill to balance that.
So he gets to the room before, and this is where his key card finally stops working. So you imagine that maybe the guards reported it lost or whatever, and it's not, the access has been revoked.
That, or he just doesn't have clearance for that room.
Yeah, that too. I mean, you imagine that he probably has access to most of the building given his job, but yeah, maybe this one is like, this is not tech people only get in here because anyone else could ruin everything because they won't know what they're doing. And he can't get through the door, and he tries to hack in with the computer that's there. And he keeps glitching, and he's glitching back and forth between him and Mr. Robot, and he tries to give him messages, and eventually he kind of hits on the points that kind of leads us down somewhere, because he actually says, hey, there's no paper records in this building, and I'm saying it out loud, but obviously he types in the computer, there's no paper records in this building, seriously, check for yourself. So he glitches back to Mr. Robot, and he checks, and there's none here, and Elliot's like, you don't have to do it, there's no reason to blow up this building, all that's going to happen is people are going to die. There's nothing being accomplished.
We're not a murderer, is what he says.
Yeah, and Mr. Robot, you can see that he's contemplating. He's doubting it, but he's like, "Oh man, maybe this is not worth doing." And Elliot glitches back into himself, and he sees that the door control's been hacked or dismantled or whatever. And he's like, "Oh, he did it." And he goes in and he turns on the cooling system, and he's like, "We did it." And this really happy music starts to play. And of course, my immediate thought is, "All right, this is building something awful."
Yeah, immediately I'm like, but at this point I'm like, but we've seen the phones, we know something's happening.
Yeah, of course we know anyway.
But
even if we didn't know, I feel like the moment that music started, I'm like, this is too happy. This is building to something worse.
Oh yeah, and you're just like, what's he missed?
And obviously, yeah, we've said that we've seen the characters have looked at their phones. It's been building to something bigger all episode. We've seen, the snow globe moment, Tyrell screaming "Stop the attack." It feels like something bigger's happening, but like all of it kind of comes together because it works without that anyway. So you kind of feel like, oh, Elliot's celebrating, and you feel like this is the thing. He has accomplished something because he did just save 200, 300 people's lives, whoever many's in the building.
That whole building.
He did save their lives. And it's just interesting. Also, I love the shot as he's walking back out and he goes past the window from the security room, or the control room, and it's like, he walks in the door, he goes past the window, and it's Mr. Robot
nice touch.
through the window. But what I love about this, right, before we get to going outside and what we lead to it, I love this idea that maybe Mr. Robot's not an antagonist anymore. That maybe, or if not that, at the very least, he is redeemable. He is not just evil.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's the idea. He's not evil. He's doing this for a cause. He's doing what he believes. And what he believes he's doing, he believes is right. It's just, once you show him that it's a sham, he's not killing people for the sake of it. So he's not, he's not just evil. He's not doing this just for the sake of it. Also
interesting to add that he himself has been played by the Dark Army in White Rose. How does Mr. Robot take that? Not well, I would imagine. But so we get outside. Elliot's seeing like everyone, is looking. He's not paying attention. He's too busy like sort of basking in his success and talking about stuff. And he's walking through the streets and he's noticing people. Just people have stopped their cars and they're just standing by cars and they're looking at their phones, and there's people looking at other things. And he eventually gets to like people surrounded, the classic.
Yeah, and I love that he says, he goes, "Everyone knows something I don't." Do you know what it is?
It's that classic thing where it gets to the TV shop window where people are watching the TV that's in the window, and this crowd's formed around it and they're all watching, and it's the happy music keeps playing until it cuts to this shot of the crowd and he starts to get through the crowd to get to the front to see what's going on, and then the music kind of stops. It just completely drowns out. You still hear street noises at this point, but then when he actually gets to the front and you see the TV, it goes completely just silent, other than his narration and the sound of the TV. That is the only things we hear from this point on the episode.
Yeah, but even before there's a moment of total silence where the TV, we hear the first couple of words of a sentence, and then it cuts out. It's complete silence for a good 5-6 seconds. Then a small that sort of it's that shell shock effect, that ringing noise, that kind of comes in quietly, and then we hear him talk again. Yeah.
So basically, it's emulating the shock of the moment, and that whole your heart sinking kind of feeling.
And we're just going, what? Because obviously he's seen it before us.
Yeah, and I was not necessarily sure that Esmail was going to pull his dirty trick and not show us this episode.
I thought he was going to just hide. I thought that shot of him just staring at the TV from that angle,
just going to cut to black.
That's it. I thought that's where it was going to cut, and I was like, I was going to be like, you bastard.
Just going to cut to black, and we're going to see a thing.
What did they do?
But it cuts to the TV, and it's not only is it really big, because instead of just blowing up this one building, they've blown up every single building that had the paper records in it. So not only is that huge, not only has that killed thousands of people, because the news don't even know what's going on yet. They're just saying it's an attack. Someone's attacking the country.
71 buildings, but it's clearly a coordinated attack.
Yeah,
because they're all these,
they're all E-Corp centers of some kind. But the real dark part of this, and it immediately hit me, was Elliot did this. They did this because they all have the records. By spreading them around, his way of stopping them, his way of saving this one building, actually doomed every other building. And here's why I think Tyrell is still completely in this. I think this was Tyrell's solution. Remember last episode, or not last episode, but the one before, when and he was trying to figure out the plan. He was talking to Irving, and he said, "I need the full force of the Dark Army." I think that's what he was referring to. I think this was Tyrell's idea.
I agree. I think the only way that I could buy that, that Tyrell was genuine when he was saying stop the attack. Although, no, he didn't say attacks. He said attack. But is that, if that note did tell him that Joanna and his kid were dead, that maybe he was like, and he kind of was like, no, they kept this from me. I'm going to try and ruin it for them. I'm going to get back at them. Like at that moment of anger to try and stop them.
Maybe I feel like right now I mean, they could tell me that he was supposed to stay handcuffed to the bed, and that was the plan. Instead, he did this. But
I'm more
I doubt
inclined
it.
to agree, though, like with you. I think he is just, that this is the plan. Like look innocent, look like you're trying to help, but it's too late.
Yeah, I think this was his idea. I think he was the one who came up with this idea to just blow them all up, and that killed thousands and thousands of people. And the guilt that Elliot and the guilt that Darlene. Oh, Darlene, sorry. I mean, Darlene will probably still feel guilty, but Angela, Angela's guilt is going to be something.
Wait to see her reaction.
But do you know what I love about the potential here? This might have just put Mr. Robot, Elliot, Angela, and Darlene all on the same side.
Yeah. We
might have a unified force. And not only that, I mean, I've been saying before that I think Elliot and Dom will eventually team up. I feel like Dom is essentially going to be on this, especially if she gets a hint that our superior is working for the Dark Army.
Oh, she's going off on one.
Yeah, she's going to go rogue, and I can see that. I feel like this show, to an extent, until I don't know if it'll be the last season, maybe it'll be next season, whatever. But I feel like part of it is forming the Avengers. Yeah. Like it's forming the team that's going to take down the Dark Army and stop this plan.
It's all these people who the Dark Army have, pushed against them. These are their enemies, and they're going to come together, and that's the only way they'll defeat them.
And it kind of ties in with like their motivations, like thinking of Elliot and Angela, because their parents were pawns in something that White Rose was doing, and now they themselves are pawns, and both of Elliot's personalities are pawns. They're all pawns. Yeah. Everyone's a pawn. Dom's a pawn. She's been played. Her superiors telling her to do things that are actively, disrupting the investigation.
Oh yeah, she is going to take it badly. She's just getting shot when she finds out.
She's going to pull out her gun and shoot him right there in the office.
I wouldn't put it past her.
It wouldn't shock me. I'll say that much. But no, I'm excited because this actually kind of like... I mean, I think this is almost a weird placement for this episode because it felt like a season finale. Like,
it felt like this is the turning point.
But at the same time, I can't imagine, like let's say you said, alright, what if instead of 3 10 episodes, I know technically 2 is 2 more, but the first and last one were just sort of double length ones. What if instead of like 3 10 episode seasons you had 2 15 episode seasons, but then that would put halfway through season 2 as a finale, and that wouldn't work.
I think it's funny that this has happened in this season, because it's the exact same thing that happened this season in Better Call Saul.
It did, yeah.
Well, we said, that felt like that was the end of that story.
Also, season 3, might I add.
Yeah, exactly. And we questioned then, like, was that the right choice for that? And yeah, we ultimately came down of, okay, it was fine.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's just...
It's just weird in the moment.
No, well, yeah, it's kind of, but I think it's just a case of... No, so Esmail's got, 5-season plan, whatever it is, and... He's like, okay, well, that point in the story in the middle is there, feels like a big finale moment, but I'm not going to artificially push it to the end of a season just to milk it out or whatever. Like, I'm going to have it be where it is. Now, does that mean that the actual finale might feel a bit less oomphy because this one feels more oomphy? Then sure, maybe, but is that a big deal in the long run? Not really.
I think the key is to kind of, again, go with what Better Call Saul did. Don't go for the bigger moment, go for the emotional core.
I mean, it still might be bigger, but I think... Ultimately, it doesn't really matter though. Like, yeah, okay. The only problem it has, if the finale somehow feels smaller because this one and the last one I felt like such a big conclusion, is that okay, sure, the wait after that for the next season feels like, oh, we didn't get a big episode to end it on. But honestly, I don't really give a shit because every other time I watch this show later in life, I'm going to do it in one go.
Exactly, and that's something we mention a lot. It's like it's only a problem on the first viewing, and it's right that we call it out on this first viewing. But it's not a problem that you'll ever have ever again because you'll never experience it this way.
And also, we're also predicting a potential problem that may not even be there. We're just kind of... But it's almost a compliment to the show that we're saying, this episode was so good that we're worried that the finale of the season might not live up to
it, yeah.
That's essentially what the complaint is here, which is not a complaint at all, so don't take it as that way, because that sounded oddly negative, but it wasn't really meant to. But
no, it's a fantastic episode.
No, it was great.
Best episode of the season so far. Because I think this one, like, we mentioned last week how the first one was our favorite at that point. I think this one was a better episode. It had just as much that got my mind going. It gave me so many ideas of possibilities for the future of the show, of what, all these things that it can do, all these things that it can explore. and it had the amazing tension. Had some great sequences.
They're all great points. Honestly, 1, 5, and 6 are all kind of top tier.
They're all pretty close.
So
yeah.
I'm not ready to make any statements. I think when we get to the end of the year and we're doing our best episodes of the year, we have to pick one to represent the show. We'll have that debate then. Because there's still 4 left.
I mean, you say that. Well, we'll have that at the end of the year. It's mid-November. We haven't got that long.
Yeah, but the show will be done for at least a few weeks by the time we're making that call. So
it's true. It's true.
Only 4 left, by the way. Just let that sink in.
Oh, don't remind me.
Just 4 left. But no, very climatic episode. It felt like it really closed off the last season and a half. To an extent, the whole show up until this point. But season 1 does feel a little bit more separate because it was all about leading up to 5/9. It feels like since the start of season 2 till now, it's been leaned to phase 2, and this was phase 2. So I feel like we're starting on the next part of the journey after this episode. And again, we've shifted the dynamics. We've had a paradigm shift with a lot of the characters, which I think is the really exciting part. Is like, okay, how we're all kind of in this. It might take them a while to realise they're all on the same side. They may not quite trust Angela. Dom, I don't think is going to completely run into the arms of like vigilantes quite yet.
No, and they're probably not going to trust Dom that easily because they fight against establishment.
But I think it's interesting that Tyrell seems like he might be ultimately an antagonist to the main group rather than an ally. Like he may have, and obviously we saw how unstable he was in season 1, so it's not that shocking a turn of events. But
no,
but hey, so no, I'm shocked that we actually. That was one of the quicker conversations of the season, but I think that was just that because so much of it was cut in between these tense moments. There's ultimately not as much to discuss in the tense moments, beyond the good direction and whatnot. Which
was fantastic.
Oh, it was. The direction was flawless pretty much throughout. But no, really, really solid stuff. So, of course, let us know what you think of the episode in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. You can do that over there and keep us going. But otherwise, that is us. So, thank you once again. There's links to everything in the description and all that stuff. So, thank you very much for watching once again. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?